היית לצנם, מן האדמה פירותייך נותן. יודע שבכל לב, יספרה כל נפלאותייך. זורדת היפים, מלכת תהילים, זורדת על הים, נוצרת צפנים, קורצת ושקיעה עונה יום וליל, המלכה היכלתי לדור חלקות לחיים. אך נשלחה בלב נפלא, ונחה לפני פורתנו, אילנות ניתן להתמודד, מפלצות הסלע, נשים לנו בבית, שרית בקודש נשים, אמו איתך יהיה חסרון ימי. לחם היית לצנם, מן האדמה פירותייך נותן. יודע שבכל לב, מספרה כל נפלאותייך.
Welcome, everyone. We're going back into the, was it 90 Days of Torah? Going into bite-sized, well, not so bite-sized, more like a meal-sized portion of these. I mean, each chapter is pretty long as it is, but yeah, so we're starting at part 3 of Parshah Toldot, which means generations, but like in this context, like the generations from Isaac. And where we left off, I think it was, I don't remember exactly, but I do have something that can kind of give us a bit of context to get back into it. But welcome back, Ram. How are you doing?
Very good, Ariel. How are you doing? And getting ready for Thanksgiving. Tag.
Yeah.
As is well known, the title of the Sedra is taken from the first key word in that passage. Sometimes it's the very first word, and occasionally it can be even up to the 14th word, as we find in the Sedra of Kedoshim. This week's Parshah commences with the words, Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham, and these are the generations of Yitzchak, son of Avraham. Toldot, therefore, generations, is a beautiful and apt title for our Sidra. However, there's an earlier portion in the Torah, the second of them all, which starts, Eile Toldot Noach. These are the generations of Noach, and there the Sedra is not called Toldot, it's called Noach. So surely, therefore, Noach should be called Toldot, and Toldot should be called Yitzchak. I would like to suggest as follows. Noach was a man who was primarily interested in himself alone. Therefore, when Hashem declared to him that the whole world was going to be destroyed except for him and his family, he didn't have the response that Avram Avinu would later have, when Hashem would tell him that Sodom and Amorah would be destroyed, and Avram challenged Hashem over that decision. Noach instead was okay with it. It was fine, because he would remain alive. And also we find that it took him 120 long years to build the ark, and throughout that time, he didn't manage to convince one single man or woman to change his or her ways. Yitzchak, however, was very different. He didn't live for himself, but rather he saw himself as being a very important and key link in the ongoing chain of tradition. He might have misjudged his son's characters, but he was ultimately there to give them a blessing, and through them to bless all subsequent generations. As a result, it is so apt that the Sedra of Noach should be called after his name, because that's what counted most to him. Whereas as far as Yitzchak was concerned, it was the Toldot, the generations that
Interesting.
matter.
So he's not
The lesson
comfort.
for us is a
Noah
profound one.
was only
When we look
comfort.
to the impact that we can have on our environment, Ultimately, what matters most is not the extent to which our name is in print, but rather how successful we are in guaranteeing the continuity of our faith. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are in guaranteeing the continuity of our faith. Shabbat Shalom.
This week's Torah reading, Parshah Toldot, has one of the most mind-boggling stories in the entire Torah. The Torah tells us the story of Yaakov and Esau, Jacob and Esau. Finally, after many years, Rebekah and Isaac are blessed with children. They're blessed not. This week's Torah reading, Parshah Toldot, has one of the most mind-boggling stories in the entire Torah. The Torah tells us the story of Yaakov and Esau, Jacob and Esau. Finally, after many years, Rebekah and Isaac are blessed with children. They're blessed not with one, but with two children, twins, that come out together. The first one is red and hairy. His name is Esau. And the second one comes holding on to the ankle of the first. His name is Yaakov. As they grow up, the difference cannot be greater. The contrast cannot be clearer. Esau is a man of hunting, a man out in the field, a man that's excited about the world, interacting with people, while Yaakov is Ish Tam, an innocent person, Yoshev Ohalim. He likes dwelling in the tent. He likes studying. He likes learning new things. He's not really a man of the outside. And as they come to close to the time where they're supposed to be blessed by their father, Isaac, Yitzchak, tells his son Esau, go hunt something, bring it to me so I can bless you. Yitzchak, our own forefather, Isaac, is ready to bless his son Esau, the wicked, and then while Esau is out, Rivka quickly calls Yaakov, rushes him in, and says, I want you to steal the blessings in essence and take them from your brother Esau. How is this possible? Why is it that Yitzchak was willing to give away the blessings to the son Esau, who was clearly so much less fit? Why was he thinking of just overlooking his righteous son Yaakov and giving all the blessings to his wicked son Esau? Why? There's a beautiful explanation I heard from the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Rabbi Chaim Berlin, Rabbi Aaron Schechter, and it goes as follows. If you take a look at Avram, what makes him so unique is the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Rabbi Chaim Berlin, Rabbi Aaron Schechter, and it goes as follows. If you take Rabbi Chaim Berlin, full explanation I heard from the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Rabbi Chaim Berlin, Rabbi Aaron Schechter, and it goes as follows. If you take a look at Avram, what makes him so unique is the fact that he's not just a man of God. He's not sitting away in an isolated location meditating God. He's a man of the people. He's talking to people. He goes to wars and he brings people into his house as guests, and he does business and he interacts with kings and diplomats. And so he's a man of the world. Yitzchak looks at his children and asks himself, who's ready to continue the legacy of my father? Which one of these two is really the one to be, as Yitzchak says later, Birkat Avraham, to inherit the blessing of Avraham? And the decision is very easy. He sees that Esau is the man that's outside, but that's not to overlook or disregard Yaakov. Yitzchak was looking to do a separation of powers. He was looking to have two children blessed. One should have the blessing of the spiritual, and one should have the blessing of bringing the spiritual into that world. Just like Yaakov, one generation later, did to his children. Yaakov blesses his son Levi. You're going to be God's share. You're going to study. You're going to teach. Yoru Toratcha liYaakov uMishpatecha liYisrael. You'll be the one who's in charge of teaching God's share. You're going to study. Blesses his son Levi. You're going to be God's share. You're going to study. You're going to teach. Yoru Toratcha liYaakov uMishpatecha liYisrael. You'll be the one who's in charge of teaching, of studying. And so Yaakov does that a generation later. He separates the powers. He says, we can't really have someone that encompasses all the qualities of Abraham. In order to fully encompass the blessings of Abraham, we need more than one person. And so he splits up the brachot. You have Zevulun is going to go out and do business. Issachar is going to study. Levi is going to teach. He separates it. And so Yitzchak thinks he's going to do the same thing. He thinks that he is going to bless Esau with the blessing of bringing God into the world, of being the worldly one, while Yaakov will be the Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, will be the one to really sit and dwell in tents and study and be the only spiritual. Rivka realizes that although this idea is novel, the idea of having separation of powers and having one son dedicate himself more to bringing God into this world, while the other bringing God into the more spiritual realm of the world, she sees that Esau is not a candidate. She recognizes that yes, Yaakov is a man of tents, but Esau is not the man to bring God into this world. He is not spiritual. He cannot do what Avram did of bringing the bracha into this world. And so she says, no, I want you, Yaakov, to take also that part, the part of bringing God into the mundane. And that's why you see this quick transformation of Yaakov from being an Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, a man who sits in the tents. And so she says, no, I want you, Yaakov, to take also that part, the part of bringing God into the mundane. And that's why you see this quick transformation of Yaakov from being an Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, a man who sits in the tents, to the next Parsha where you see Yaakov all day with the sheep in the fields, dealing with Lavan, and really handling the situation of this material world. And so Rivka is right. She has the right insight, and she says to Yaakov, it's not time to separate. Now is the time for all of the blessing of Abraham to be yours. And ideally, though, the ideal that Yitzchak would prefer is the blessing of Abraham, where it's a universe where you can have someone who brings both aspects into this world, the spiritual and the mundane. And that's why we're blessed at the end of the Hayat im Shamoah, Leman yirbu yameichem v'yimei b'neichem al ha'adama asher nishba Hashem avotechem latet lahem kimei hashamayim al ha'aretz. Heaven on earth is the ultimate mission, the mission of bringing God into every aspect of this world and making sure that spirituality, justice, and kindness emanate the entire world. Shabbat Shalom.
Interesting. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I thought it was interesting. It's again, it's the relationship is complicated between Esau and Isaac, and what should have happened, what did happen. Again, it's where rabbis can debate endlessly. Hey,
What do you mean they could debate endlessly?
well, there's sometimes they actually agree on things, every so often.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't stop the debate. Agreement usually just leads to more questions.
Well, I figured they can agree there. They just move on to something else they can argue about.
Hence the endless debate.
Yeah. Well, they get something new, old debate that they've done for years and centuries. That's boring. They can move on to something new.
I personally think we should revisit the two powers in heaven theology. But that's for another time.
שלום וברכה. בפרשת השבוע, פרשת תולדות, נולדים ליצחק תאומים יעקב ועשיו. אברהם אבינו, הסבא של יעקב ועשיו.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't want to have to actually not translate, but read the translation. So hence, I'm going to find something else. Let's see. We're about to start. I just need to give myself a moment. Oh, is this
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. That I know.
The central theme of the Toldot chapter is this classic struggle and battle between the twin brothers, Jacob and Esau. The story begins, Ela Toldot, these are the children.
Oh, also,
Toldot means children
yeah.
of.
Hey, Zero, how are you?
Hey. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Sarah. Good morning.
Of Isaac and Rebekah. And the story continues that Rebekah was pregnant, but her pregnancy was very difficult. She was in pain. So she went to ask, why is she in pain? And she's told, you're in pain because you have two children inside of you. These two children are not simple children. They represent two nations. And these two nations will always be at odds with each other. And their struggle begins in your womb. But it will continue through their lifetimes and throughout history. And this is the twin brothers, Esau and Jacob, Jacob and Esau. So this chapter is not only a profound psychological chapter, as I'll explain, but it also has historical implications because Jacob would become the ancestor of the Jewish people. Esau would become the ancestor of Rome, Western world, and Christianity. So exactly what was told to Rebekah thousands of years ago, that these two nations would struggle with each other, is what happened. The battle between Christians and Jews, the battles that still impact us today in one way or another. But of course, the good news is at the end, they will make their peace, which is the end of the story. But let's go back to the actual struggle between the two. So it says that Esau was the warrior and Jacob was the scholar. And then the controversial story continues that Esau one day comes back weary from the field, is hungry. So Jacob says, if you want food, sell me your birthright. So Esau, in his passionate moment of hunger, sold his birthright. But it gets worse. Then Jacob conspires with his mother to so-called steal the blessings from Esau. Jacob dresses up in the garments of Esau, goes to his father Isaac, who at that point was blind, feels his arms, and he sees that feels
This
like
is
Esau.
a really
And he
messed
actually
up
says,
story.
"You have
I
the
never
hands of
really
Esau, but
realized.
your voice is the voice of Jacob." And Jacob, in effect, steals the blessings from Esau. When Esau comes back from the field, and he hears that Jacob had already been blessed, his father, assuming that it was Esau lets out a great cry. And then Isaac gives him a blessing, but he cannot give him the blessing he had already given to Jacob. Esau is outraged, and he goes on a lifetime pursuit to kill his brother Jacob. The chapter concludes that Jacob escapes and goes off not to meet his brother for 20 years. So this story is fraught with complications. This is the behavior of a scholar, of a wholesome person, stealing blessings from his brother. I mean, what kind of impression does that leave us? So there's an unbelievably powerful lesson, and which can be understood with an analogy that the Baal Shem Tov gives. And here's the analogy. The analogy is of a king, an alien king, a leader of a great kingdom, who was dying and knew his time was about to come. He had a son who would become the heir to the throne. But the father was a very wise leader. And he said to himself, listen, my son has not yet earned his way to be a leader. He needs to go out and not live under the protection of the palace. Go live among the subjects. And there, when he sees the people's needs, the people's challenges, he'll become a sensitive leader.
Buddha.
Well, as long as he's in the palace, he's being catered to, he's protected, he has ministers and all kinds of attendants serving him.
Sorry, I think I have a Buddha stuck in my throat.
You don't say.
Yeah, I think I'm good now. I think I got the Buddha out.
All the time. So the father, even though it was painful, tells his son, I have to send you to a distant land in the kingdom where no one will know who you are. And you have to make it on your own. And one day you'll
Be
be worthy
careful
to
when
be the leader
casting
of
out
this
your devils, not to cast
kingdom.
out your angels.
So the son goes off. The father, of course, cries over the fact, but he also anticipates and knows that the son, after a while, is going to forget where he came from. So several times a year, he sends him a letter reminding him, remember, my son, you are my son, the son of the king. You were sent to this place for a reason, in order for you to earn your way. And one day you will return to the palace and you will lead this great land. When the son receives the letter, he wants to celebrate. He wants to dance. But what is he going to do? What is he going to tell the neighbors, the townspeople? They'll be resentful if he starts telling them, I'm the king's son. They'll even think he's insane. So he has a great idea. He announces free cocktails, free drinks on me. Today's a party day. So of course everyone's celebrating because they got free drinks. Meanwhile, he celebrates because he received a letter from his father. So the Baal Shem Tov explains this is the reason when you talk about Jews, you always hear about holidays. The first thing people say about holidays, food. On Hanukkah, you eat latkes. On Shavuos, blintzes. On Passover, the Passover foods, kreplach, kishke, kugel, cholent. We got a food for every occasion. The question is, what's so spiritual about food? So the Baal Shem Tov's analogy goes like this. The king is God, and each child of the king is the soul that each of us has. As long as the soul is up in heaven, it's living in the comfort of the palace. There's no big achievement. There are no challenges. God says, I want you to go down to earth. Live in a physical body. Live in a material world. There you'll be challenged. And that's where I want you to excel. Prove yourself. However,
I'm sorry, but this just came to my head and now I can't unsee it. And though partially I think I might have actually seen this before and I think I just forgot it, but have you ever seen any meme where it's like Barbie, but Barbie is short for Barbello, and that whole idea of, a material girl in a material world?
No, but I can see how that definitely works.
And then what is it? And then Ken is like Jesus fighting against 𝐤𝐕𝅃𝐃. I don't know. Dude, this is what being tired will do to you.
as we come down to this earth, we forget that there's a soul. And we forget that God sent us. We get carried off and carried away with our own agendas. So God sends us several times a year a holiday, a special day, and says, listen, this is a reminder that I exist. Celebrate that you are my children. But the problem is the body is not interested in spiritual messages. So God says, so give the body free drinks. Give it some food to eat. Let it sleep a little late. Let it socialize. Let it do a few things that satisfy its needs. And meanwhile, while the body is celebrating for eating all this good food and saying a little l'chaim and a drink here and there, the soul can celebrate for the main reason that the holiday was given. This analogy explains what happened with Jacob and Esau. Jacob represents the soul. Esau represents the body, the warrior. For the soul to function in this world, it has to sometimes dress up in the garments of the body, because the body won't cooperate if it doesn't dress up. So the soul has to explain to the human body, listen, there's something in it for you. You're going to get free drinks. On Shabbos, there's special good foods. Holidays have other good foods. There's a lot of partying going on. So the body says, oh, great, I'm in for the party. And meanwhile, Jacob, the soul, can celebrate for the main reason that it has to celebrate. So the lesson of Jacob and Esau can only be really understood that it's not deception. It's about speaking on the terms of the material world. Jacob is basically speaking to Esau on his terms and saying, just like you would tell a child, listen, if you study well in school, we'll give you a candy. We all know that candy is not the main thing, but the child doesn't understand yet that knowledge is valuable. The child understands that candy is valuable. So it's not deceiving the child. It's just speaking on the terms of the child and saying, look, right, at this point, you understand the candy is valuable. One day you'll understand the value of knowledge, and you'll understand that the candy's value pales in comparison to the value of knowledge. So Jacob, the soul, has to educate the body on its terms, how to appreciate the divine, the spirit, the Torah, and the higher purpose and values. This is one key lesson from this week's Torah chapter.
I love BetterHelp. Therapy has truly changed my life.
I've been in and out of therapy with BetterHelp for a few years
That's
now, and it's
interesting
made
because
prioritizing
it almost
my
seems to echo kind of some of this like Gnostic twin ideology. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
it's certainly a form, kind of apologist. Apologizing for the sins of Jacob. Jacob.
Yeah. Ignore all of that deception. The real lesson is this other thing.
Who you gonna believe, me or your own lying heart?
Yeah, but keep in mind, who is the real deceiver here? Rebecca. She was the facilitator. There's no.
She hatched the plan.
Yeah, like if you look at it, Jacob bought the birthright. So like on that end, he was clean. Given you could still argue it was deceptive, but like at the end of the day, one of the understandings is that Esau like didn't understand or care for spirituality in the same way that Jacob did. So he was like, what's the birthright to me? I mean, basically, because I'm. So this is the thing, because the way it gets interpreted when he says because I'm going to die means that, oh well, he needs the food, because if he doesn't have if he doesn't have the food, then what's the birthright to him? But the other way of reading it is that he doesn't care about the birthright because the birthright is spiritual, whereas he doesn't believe in it. Therefore, when he dies, the birthright is nothing to him.
But the birthright is material, is it not?
No.
It's firstborn, and it is not being the patriarch and inheriting all the goods.
I mean, like, there's definitely that element, but that's I mean, we'll read that in a few minutes, but I don't really think that's the point, because Esau still gets a blessing that's actually more physical than Jacob's.
Isn't there not really a positing of an afterlife at this point? That there isn't reward in heaven, birthright reward after death? I mean, isn't that kind of Christianism coming in?
The reward is your descendants. That's why they keep talking about the seed being multiple, like sands in the grain. It's the descendants are your afterlife.
So you could sort of stretch that into reincarnation. That's about as far as real.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to
for that being.
Keep in mind that this text is actually being written already by a point where so there's a good argument to be made that even though some of the traditions might have gone back further orally, that the textual forms that we have are actually existent in a context that believes in the afterlife, and that it's only really in in the earliest parts of the Bible that you wouldn't have it, because, and by earliest I mean like when it's dated to, not when the events occurred, because Genesis is actually one of the later books in the Bible.
But where does it even put forth that the birthright is anything but inheriting the power and the goods?
Because the birthright, it's not referring just to being like, oh, like, I mean, we'll read it in a moment, but it's not just referring to, because, but I mean, like, so here's the main thing, because if you look at I mean, at least at the interpretation, the tradition, that Esau ended up having much more power and much more like physical power and wealth than Jacob did. So it's not a primarily physical thing, because if that were the case, then how come Esau would be considered the. I mean, again, a lot of this is, being understood in a certain filter, but there is this tradition that Esau was the ancestor of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, my way of looking at it is the goods are the physical aspect, and that authority patriarch aspect, that's the spiritual inheritance. Tag.
Yeah, and that power to be the head man is basically, means management of the goods.
And welcome to Aleph Beta. Today, I want to look with you at the very difficult story of Yaakov's deception of both his brother Esau and his father Isaac. Isaac seeks to bless one of his children. He loves Esau. Rebekah, mother of both Esau and Yaakov, kind of swoops in and seems to impose her will upon the story, dresses up Yaakov in clothes borrowed, so to speak, from Esau. Before you know it, Yaakov has a blessing, Esau doesn't. And for the rest of Genesis,
this is what I'm saying. She's a facilitator. She's turning Jacob into a pawn. She gives him the clothing. It's not like he's like, oh, how am I going to deceive my father? He's a participant, but it's kind of like he's basically a patsy. The theoretical gun's put in his hand and he's told what to do, and he does it because he has an allegiance to his mother.
Agreed. It's also a commentary on Rebekah's relationship with Isaac, where she doesn't think anything about going behind his back and going against his will and using his kid against him. Tag.
The characters are left to deal with the aftermath. How do we understand the story? Okay, so now before we dive into the story, I do want to say a little bit of a word to you about perspective. We have touched this story before in Aleph Beta in previous videos, and you can find them at the links below. We have talked about this story, but we've talked these videos, and we have touched this story before in Aleph Beta in previous videos, and you can find them at the links below. We have talked about this story, but we've talked about it primarily from the perspective of Jacob. What was he thinking? How could he have done what he did? What was the story like from his perspective? Today, I want to adopt a different perspective with you. I want to look at Rebekah's perspective, the mother of both Yaakov and Esau, because she really seems to be the architect of this deception. It seems to come from her. What was she thinking? Did she think that was okay? I mean, if she had an argument with Isaac, her husband, if she felt that your blessing come from her, what was she thinking? Did she think that was okay? I mean, if she had an argument, what was she thinking? Did she think that was okay? I mean, if she had an argument with Isaac, her husband, if she felt that you're blessing the wrong kid, bless Jacob instead, then make the case to him, talk to him. Why resort to the sort of backhanded deception? And it ends up so terrible. I mean, look at what happens. Esau is infuriated. He pledges that he's gonna kill Yaakov, and there's this anger, this burning anger that doesn't even seem to subside. Generations later, the anger of Amalek itself, the grandson of Esau, seems to be just a carryover from this deception. So this is like the beginning of this terrible family feud. What was she thinking? Why did she do this? If you were Rebekah's lawyer, what would you say in her defense? Is there any possible way of defending her position in this story? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. All right, so if we are donning our Rebekah's lawyer's hat, as it were, one line of defense that we might sort of take is Rebekah had a prophecy. She was really, when you think about it, doing nothing more than helping a God-given prophecy come into fruition. Because if you go all the way back to 2 chapters ago, when Rebekah was pregnant with these 2 children, with Yaakov and Esau, she was troubled at that time because she felt a struggle in her womb. And God came to her and explained, there's going to be 2 nations, and they're going to diverge from your womb. These 2 children are going to be independent and establish these 2 different nations, and there'll be a struggle between them, and the older will serve the younger. V'rav ya'avod sa'ir in Hebrew. So there it is. The older is going to serve the younger. The older is Esau. The younger is Yaakov. She knows that it's the child she loves. It's Yaakov who is going to be the one that ultimately is going to carry the mantle of the Abrahamic promise forward. So maybe that justifies everything. She kind of waits around waiting for this prophecy to sort of come to fruition. But here's this moment close to the end of Isaac's life, when Isaac decides it's time to pass on the mantle of the heritage to one child, and he's choosing the wrong child. He motions to Esau and says, come here, I'm going to give you this blessing. And Rebecca's thinking, this is wrong. Every bone in her body is screaming, this is wrong. I have to do something to make this prophecy come to fruition. And therefore, all bets are off. Whatever she does, deception, underhanded, it just doesn't make a difference. She is causing this prophecy to come to fruition. Okay, so here is the critique, though, that I would level against that line of defense. First of all, why not just talk to your husband? I mean, you've just got to come back to that point. Just talk to him. If you had a prophecy, share it with Isaac. Why resort to deception? And even if you can come up with some reason why she had to resort to deception, still, does the mere fact that she had a prophecy from God, does that really mean that you can do anything to make that prophecy happen? I'm not sure we'd accept that line of argument. And let me try to illustrate why with an analogy for you. So let's put you in a version of Rebecca's position. Let's say you go to sleep one night, you have this.
Okay, I think we can admit that looks freakishly like me, right?
Yeah.
Let's put you in a version of Rebecca.
Like, holy crap. I mean, one moment. Let's see. I'll put you guys back in. How do I do this? Can I increase the size of this? Hello layout? No. Okay. I'll just add you guys back in. Doesn't make a difference. Full screen layout. Oh, wait. No, here. How do I add this back? Remove, add to stage. Oh, there. Yeah, okay, that looks like me. I mean, even down to the mustache.
Did you have any prophetic dreams?
Not like this, no. But I have. I mean, not anything like prophetic, but just, some wacky dreams that had religious connotation.
Numbers, maybe play the Powerball.
No, just some like having advanced knowledge of something before it happened, but it's not really that useful when it only happens when you only find out the night before something happens. So you wake up and you find the news. So it's like, oh, wow, what I dreamed happened. That's kind of freaky. But no, not that useful.
Rebecca's position. Let's say you go to sleep one night, you have this dream. It's a prophetic dream. The Lord himself comes to you and says, dear Aleph Beta viewer, I have a mission to you. You are going to be the next congressman or congresswoman in the 25th district of Wisconsin. It's going to be you. I, God, am behind you. And just to prove it, I'm going to give you a little something to begin your campaign, a check for $182,000. And it's for you. And lo and
I'm sorry, but this sounds like how you get recruited to be the front man for an operation in Congress.
It sounds APAC going on, on the primaries.
behold, you wake up and
Also, you know it's actually like it's a Christian Zionist organization. It's not run by Jews.
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly, but what the policy the policy goals are. I mean, you see who they go against.
I don't really want to get into politics though.
And, under normal circumstances, you just discount this. You think it's not really real, but there it is underneath your pillow. You look and there's a check for $182,000, and it's drawn on the Bank of God, and it's signed "Love God," and you deposit it in Citibank, and the check clears, and it's real. What do you do now? Well, the one thing you don't do is just stand back and wait for it to happen, right? You got to put in some effort. So you open the bank account and you begin to establish the campaign, and you go out and you make some speeches, and lo and behold, it starts working. Your name recognition is going up in polling. Soon you're neck and neck with your opponent. It looks like it's really going to happen until one night, 5 days before the election, your chief of staff calls you in. So he says to you, "Sir, I have bad news. Our internal polling says you're going to lose by 5 points. It'll be close, but you're going to lose." And just as the chagrin sets in, he says to you, "But I know somebody in Central Election Headquarters who works with the computer systems. His name is Phil. And I think if we slip Phil a little something, maybe about, I don't know, 180, I'd say about 182,000 should be enough. And I think we could probably make that 5-point deficit go away." And then he leaves you with your thoughts. And it hits you, 182,000. That was the amount of that check. You had a prophecy.
I'm sorry, this is very clearly some sort of operation.
Do you slip the money to Phil? I think the answer is you don't slip the money to Phil. I think what you've got to say here is that if it's wrong to commit fraud, if it's wrong to bribe an official in the Central Elections Agency, then it's simply wrong. This prophecy from God doesn't really justify it, because you sort of have to say to yourself, look, on the one hand, I had to establish the campaign. I had to do everything within my power ethically to make this prophecy happen. But ethically is the key word. I don't have to do anything to make it happen, because ultimately there's a partnership here. I mean, God, you have some power too. At some point, I've got to say, look, there's 5 days left to the election. It's close. It looks like I'm down. But God, you're the one who gave me the prophecy. You're the one who told me to run. I gave it the old college try. I did my best. It's up to you now. If that's true, then seemingly our justification for Rebecca on the grounds of you had a prophecy, you got to make it happen no matter what, has just run out of gas. We have failed, really, to give a justification to Rebecca. What was she thinking? Join me.
I was going to say, God should be able to stuff the ballot box better than Phil.
I think. Yeah, but I guess in this analogy, it's not like God's going to come down and tell Isaac, "No, you're choosing the wrong son."
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all very, obviously, if it's really all under some total control and there's no interpretive aspect, then yeah, these problems wouldn't be there.
I'm just going to finish this and we'll start. Let's see.
Rivka is the name of the second matriarch of Israel. What does Rivka mean and what does Rivka represent? Rivka comes from Revokai Shel Shalosh. As the Mishnah says, it represents a herd of 3 and 3 oxen. In the word Rivka, you have the letters Bokor, which means 3 oxen. What does Rivka represent? Rivka comes from Revokai Shel Shalosh. As the Mishnah says, it represents a herd of 3 and 3 oxen. In the word Rivka, you have the letters Bokor, which mean cattle. Rivka has the potential of transformation, to take the most physical, animalistic role.
Sorry, I'll fast forward. I just want to hear some more.
There's Bokor, which means oxen. Represent. Rivka comes from Revokai Shel Shalosh. As the Mishnah says, it represents a herd of 3 and 3 oxen. In the word Rivka, you have the letters Bokor, which mean cattle. Rivka has the potential of transformation, to take the most physical, animalistic raw material and use this as a vehicle to serve Almighty God. And therefore Rivka, like all the other matriarchs of Israel, were more down to earth. The men, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, were more potential. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah were more reality. And Rivka, of all of them, represents the ultimate level of transformation. She was also very mature. At the age of 3 already, she was lighting the candles, the Shabbos candles. And that's why from her we derive the lesson that every young girl of 3 years old, and even prior, should light the Shabbos candles. Number 3, Rivka had tremendous vision. Vision even beyond her years, and vision even beyond her husband Yitzchak, who was one of the 3 forefathers. As it says that Yitzchak liked and loved Esau, but she loved Yaakov, and therefore she did everything in her power to make sure that Yaakov would receive the blessings. Furthermore, she was the Shatchin. She was the matchmaker for her son, Yaakov. She said to Yaakov that it's disgusting, Katzi b'chayai, that you should remain here and marry a non-Jewish woman, go back to my family, to my brother.
I'm sorry, there weren't Jews yet.
Brother Lavan, and marry his daughters. Abraham.
It's like, oh, it's disgusting. You shouldn't marry any of these Canaanites. Better that you marry your cousin. Literally your first cousin.
Well, Ariel, if he doesn't have a sister, the first cousin is the best he can do.
I think you're going in the opposite direction of the way you're supposed to be going with that paradigm.
Oh, I was just following in Abraham's lead. Tag.
And to be fair, he's just following in God's league. You know, with the whole idea of like God and the Holy Spirit being like mother, father, son, mother, sister, brother, all that good stuff.
Made the shidduch for Yitzchak. However, from that shidduch came out not only Yaakov, but also an Esau. Esau was a very wicked person. But Yitzchak made the shidduch for Yaakov, and from that shidduch, from that match, came out Mitosei Shalema, that all 12 sons and Dinah, the daughter, were all righteous in the eyes of God, and from them came about the Jewish people. So this is the greatness of Rivka as a Shatchin over Avraham and over all the other mothers of Israel. We find that Yitzchak and Rivka together, the gematria, equals 515. Yitzchak is 208. Rivka is 307. 208 plus 307 equals 515. The Torah says that Yitzchak and Rivka together were praying for a child. 515 is the same gematria as the word tefillah, which is prayer. Similarly, we find that Moses, v'aschanon el Hashem, Moses prayed 515 prayers to enter into the land of Israel, to be able to fulfill all the mitzvos of God. So here we see that Yitzchak and Rivka, like Moses, also prayed for the ultimate redemption for the children of Israel, to be able to enter into the land of Israel through the coming of Mashiach. According to Kabbalah, Yitzchak and Rivka represent the two names of Ma and Ban. Yitzchak represents Ma, and Rivka represents Ban. And Chassidus tells us that this is really the purpose of the entire creation. And this is the objective of why God brought the world into being. And that is to unite Ma, which is spirituality, with Ban, which is the animalistic, physical, finite world together. So therefore, Yitzchak represents Ma, and Rivka represents Ban, and therefore the marriage of Rivka and Yitzchak are expounded upon in great detail in the Torah. For this is truly the fundamental principle and the basis of the entire Torah, to bring together this formation of Yitzchak and Rivka, which is heaven and earth, and God and the Jewish people. We do this every time we perform a mitzvah. The word mitzvah means connection. We connect ma and ban together. What are the letters of Rivka? Reish, Beis, Kuf, Hey. Reish, the letter Reish represents Re'iyah. Re'iyah means to see. She had vision, and she knew that Yaakov was truly the greater one. Beis is brachos. It was in her merit that Yaakov received the blessings. Kuf, she said, Katztai b'chayai, that I am disgusted by the daughters of Ches, and therefore you are to marry one of my family. And Hey represents the final Hey of God's name, of the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey of the Tetragrammaton, which is the final Hey in which God created this universe. For it is through Rivka that we bring godliness down into this world to create a Dira B'tachtonim. What is the pasuk for Rivka? Rabbi Yisroel Sadik Mukulan Yasilenu Hashem. That is in Psalms 44, verse 20. What does that mean? Many troubles may beset the righteous. However, God saves them from all of these troubles. What does this pasuk represent? There are those who think that God is looking to, God forbid, punish the people of Israel. And God is looking to find fault in people. On the contrary, God is a God of kindness and a God of love and a God of compassion. Says the Medrash, what has God done since the beginning of creation? After God finished creating the world, what does he do all the time? Says the Medrash that God works on matching couples together. That is what God wants to see. He wants to see weddings. He wants to see his children getting married. And furthermore, to have many, many children.
I'm sorry, his children getting married to each other?
This pasuk of Rivka, which starts with the letter Reish and ends with the letter Hey, represents the concept that even though there might be troubles in the world, God is looking to bring kindness and blessing to each and every one of his children. So we hope and pray that we internalize these qualities of our mother Rivka, to have total transformation, to truly be mature beyond our years, and to have vision to see the truth, and to bring about the ultimate shatchin, and bring about the ultimate match between God and the Jewish people with the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days.
All right. So,
So there you
one
go.
of the things that jumped out.
Rebecca's blameless.
One of the things they were saying that jumped out at me was that when they were talking about Ma and Bam, it reminded me of Egyptian religion, where you have Ba
There
being
was a
the
moment there where I
soul,
really thought I was going to pass out.
Ba being the soul, and Ma'at being cosmic order in the union of the two. Tag.
interesting.
Ready?
Let's see.
All right, I'd like to introduce you guys to.
Oh wait, what was I looking for here? Choose tab, and then what was it?
So the will was fulfilled. The prophecy was fulfilled, and it is supposedly right that it was fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
And how would it have happened otherwise?
She could have just talked to Isaac.
There's nothing that says that she didn't. But he reigns. His opinion's what floats.
What? What are you talking about?
The will of the patriarch is certainly the trump card.
No. Have you ever read?
There's equal say. Where is there equal say?
Have you ever read Ugaritic literature?
Ugaritic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same cultural context.
Ugarit's Canaanite.
Exactly.
Well, sort of. Ugaritic is sort of a gumbo of it, because they also bring it from some of the Hittite, the Hurrian, the Indo-Europeans from north. They were sort of a central trading ground prior to the Bronze Age collapse.
And there was some power that women had in the Egyptian.
No, but like literally, there's this idea that the way that you the way that you get El to do what you want is to entreat Asherah to convince him. There's literally this whole tradition of goddesses counseling gods, and by extension of matriarchs counseling the patriarchs. Just look at Sarah; she was considered a greater prophet than even Abraham. So I do reject the idea that the patriarchs are in a higher position. I mean, just look at Deborah. She did what no man would do, and because of her,
It takes her convincing him. It is his decision.
Yeah, Zero's point is which one gets the final say. Only one of them can have the final say, and then in a patriarchal system, it's the patriarch. You can sit there, you can entreat him you can present your case and treat him to your side, but ultimately, if he decides against, well, I thought we were speculating that maybe she did.
Well, it doesn't say either way.
Yeah. It's basically
it's the prophecy when she was pregnant. Surely it was relayed. Why is she going to keep that secret?
You know, and it's basically some of it becomes is it justified to go behind your husband's back if he decides against what the wife wants? And I can't say that this is delivering a very solid, good message for marriages here.
Well, but it's a recurring theme that the second born gets the blessing to go against the usual inheritance model in these various different stories.
Or the youngest in the case of Joseph.
Yeah, same kind of sidestepping of the normal order.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Baruch et Adonai Amvarach, Baruch Adonai Amvarach L'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato, Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. ויעל משם באר שבע, וירא אליו אדוני בלילה ההוא, ויאמר אנוכי אלוהי אברהם אביך, אל תירא כי איתך אנוכי וברכתך, והרביתי יצריך בעבור אברהם עבדי, ויבן שם מזבח, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויית שם אוהלו, ויקראו שם עבדי יצחק באר. ואבימלך הלך עליו מגרר ואחוזת. מרהו ופיכול שער צבאו. ויאמר עליהם יצחק, מדוע באתם אליי ואתם שנאתם אותי ותשלחוני מאתכם. ויאמרו ראינו כי היה אדוני עמך ונאמר תהי נא עלה בינינו וביניך, ונקראת ברית עמך. אם תעשה עמנו רעה, כאשר לא נגעונך, וכאשר עשינו עמך רק טוב, ונשלחך בשלום, אתה ברוך אדוני. ויעש להם משתה, ויאכלו וישתו, וישכימו בבוקר, וישבעו איש לאחיו, וישלחם יצחק, וילכו מאיתו בשלום. ויהי ביום ההוא, ויבוא עבדי יצחק, ויגידו לו על עדות הבאר אשר חפרו, ויאמרו לו מצאנו מים. ויקרא אותה שיבה, על כן שם העיר באר שבע עד היום הזה. So that would be and he went up from there to Beersheba, and he saw, and God appeared before him that night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Do not fear, because I am with you, and I will bless you, and I will increase your seed on account of Abraham my servant. I feel like we already read this for some reason.
They're always increasing seed.
Yeah, good point. And he built there an altar, and he called it by the name. He invoked. In this case, it's saying, and he called out the name in the name of Adonai, and he planted there his tent, and he and he dug there, and the servants of Isaac dug there a well, and Avimelech walked upon him, or came upon him. Better translation would be like journeyed, or like came across him from Gerar, and Ahuzat, Merehu, his companion, Upichol, and Fichol, the prince, or the leader, like the authority, or what is this? Basically the head of his host, of his troops. And Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, and you hate me, and what's this? And you have sent me away from amongst you. And they said, we see Ra'inu. We certainly see that Adonai is with you. And and so they said to he, and so they said, please let there be Allah, let there be a swear, like and let there be an oath between us, between Benotenu, between Benotenu, Otenu. Let's see. Oh, Benotenu. I guess it's just another between us. Benenu. It's just implying us again. Ubenecha, and between us and Bain. Benenu ubenecha. Oh, between you and between us. That's what it was. I was thinking this was like banecha, which would be our children, or banenu and banecha. But no. So you between us and between you. And we will cut a covenant, cut a deal basically, with you. If you do this with us, if you do to us any evil, that you will do us no evil, nega ano, and it's saying that you will not touch us with evil, and as we have done for you with us, as we have done with you only good, and sent you away in peace, you now are blessed by Adonai. It's interesting because here you have ata, you, and then ata here means now. So ata, but it's a different ata. And he made for them mishta, a feast, a banquet, and they ate and they drank, and veshkimu shakam, and they rose in the morning, and they swore, and man swore to his brother le'achav. Wait, what? Le'achiv. Ish le'achiv. And they swore an oath, a man to his brother, and vayishlachem, and they were sent away, and Isaac sent away, and they went meito from them in peace. And so was on that day that the servants of Isaac came and Gidu told him about what they witnessed in Beersheba. Told him about what they'd witnessed at Beersheba, digging the well, and he said to them, and they said to him, we found water. And he called it Shiva. Therefore, or upon this, was the name of the city Beersheba. Because from that day, implying it's since enemies. So, any thoughts on that so far? To give my voice a bit of a break.
let's see. Interesting. You said ata means here and now.
It depends on the first letter. So if it's with an aleph, it means you. If it's with an ayin, it means now.
Oh, you.
Graham?
Yeah, no, don't. I'm just looking up the verse right now. It's like you don't really have a whole lot of thoughts. It's just sort of stuff swirling around.
On the earlier passage, the bequeathing of the blessing upon the son. That once it's done, right? It seemed that's how it check out. So it's a transfer of power, like, you know, seeing it in like more indigenous traditions, like a shamanic bequeathing of an energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna find something to put on real quick to give my voice a tiny break.
I was going to say one aspect of it is it's clearly Isaac was like the water dowser of Canaan here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's kind of a magic aspect in there.
Let's see.
Because I mean, you know, otherwise you could say, "Oh, you weren't the right one," so.
The son of his father and the father of his son. Is this the best that we can say about our patriarch Yitzchak? In Parshah Toldot, we're told about the life and times of Yitzchak. His father Avram was such a towering personality. About him, the Hittites said, Nesi Elokim Mata betochenu, you're a prince of God in our midst. And Yitzchak's son Yaakov, his name Yisrael continues to live on in our midst. But what can we say about Yitzchak himself? Actually, I believe that Yitzchak probably is the most suitable role model for our times. And why do I say that? You see, Avram became Avraham. Yaakov became Yisrael. But Yitzchak was born Yitzchak and he died Yitzchak. No change of name whatsoever. And indeed, his name is in the future tense. Yitzchak, he will laugh, indicating that from him will flow a happy future. Yitzchak had the one and only Rivka, but Avram had more than one wife, and Yaakov had more than one wife. Avram was born in Mesopotamia, made Aliyah, then left for Egypt in a time of famine, came back to Eretz Canaan. Yaakov left the Holy Land for Mesopotamia, and then in his latter life went to live in Egypt where he died. But Yitzchak was born in the Holy Land and he died in the Holy Land. He never stepped foot from there. You know, in our tradition, Yitzchak's virtue is called Gevurah, which means strength, because he had the strength of character which enabled him to be the rock of stability and dependability. Yitzchak is a symbol of continuity, a strong link in an ongoing chain, and this too is reflected in our davening. According to tradition, Avram started the custom of davening Shachrit in the morning, Yaakov of davening Ma'ariv in the evening. Yitzchak was the one who introduced the idea of davening Mincha in the afternoon. It is the Mincha service which is that link in the ongoing chain of commitment, of spirituality, which joins the morning with the evening, which provides that strong continuity. Therefore, when it comes to our aspirations and dreams for our children, many of us as parents would love to have an Avram or a Yaakov, but deep down more than anything, we'd like to have Yitzchaks. Children who please God will be the children of their parents and the parents of their children, and who will guarantee our own line within the future of the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.
Black Friday at EOS Fitness means huge savings. Take advantage of our best offer of the year by joining for just $1.
What is your favorite outfit of clothing? And for what special occasion did you wear it? In Parshat Toldot, we are told, Vatikach Rivka et bigdei Esav bena hagadol hachamudot. Rivka took her older son Esav's favorite outfit and she placed it on Yaakov. Of course, she was preparing Yaakov, as we're all familiar with the story, to go and deceive his father Yitzchak so that he should receive the blessing of the Bechor, the firstborn. Now, if Esav had a favorite outfit, why wasn't it in his own home? What was it doing in the home of his parents, Yitzchak and Rivka? Our sages explain that Esav kept his favorite outfit in his parents' home so that when he appeared before his father, such was the deep respect he had for his father, he would always change in order to be as smart as possible. Now, there is a huge question we need to ask here. Wasn't Yitzchak blind? He didn't see what Esav looked like. It made no difference whatsoever. Yitzchak blind. Possible. Now, there is a huge question we need to ask in order to be as smart as possible. Now, there is a huge question we need to ask here. Wasn't Yitzchak blind? He didn't see what Esav looked like. It made no difference whatsoever to him. And the answer is that Esav's respect for his father was natural. It was genuine. It was sincere. Of course, it would be nice for him, for his father to recognize that he respected him, but that's not why he was doing it. And I believe, therefore, that there are two huge messages that emerge from this for us for all time. The first is that when it comes to kibbut av va'em, the respect that we must have for our parents, like Esav, it should be natural. Not just to tick the box for our parents to know that we are respecting them, but rather in their presence or outside of their presence or well beyond their lifetime on earth, we should continue to respect their wishes and to live according to the values that they wanted us to live according to. And there is a second message. You know, over Shabbat Parshat Toldot, Esav gets a lot of bad press within shuls right around the world. We highlight what a tzaddik, a righteous person Yaakov was, and what a rotten apple Esav was. But right in the midst of this story, we highlight the fact that Esav did excel in one area, the respect that he had for his father, reminding us of that great teaching in the ethics of the fathers. Ein lecha adam she'ein lo sha'ah. There isn't a single person on earth who doesn't have his or her moment. We can learn something from everyone. As some people say, even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day. Shabbat Shalom.
One aspect of this incident, of the whole relationship between Jacob and Esau that I haven't seen explored much, is how much of it is Rebecca playing favorites with her son, even from the beginning, where she loved the one more than the other, and how much of Esau's problems is because of the disparate love that Rebecca showed. Tag.
Also, there's the deal that she was given the prophecy when she was pregnant, and surely relayed that, and that it was disregarded, seemingly maybe because she was a woman, and you're not talking to God, because there is no parallel message given to the Father about this.
Muted, Ariel.
Yeah, sorry. That's a relatively Christian idea. I mean, the idea that the man is the head of the house is a very Christian idea. Like, I mean, honestly, in Judaism, it's almost the opposite. The woman is at the head of the house, whereas the man, the man's in charge of studying and in charge of like the spiritual, whereas the woman's in charge of the physical.
Well, the man's also in charge of the relationship between the house and other houses. He negotiates the inner house world.
True, but like the in that case, the mother's the intermediary between the children and the father.
Right, up until they reach, that puberty age, and then they go through their various initiation rites. Tag.
Yeah.
It is not an equal relationship. It is a subordinate, even though they have some roles.
Well, it kind of is equal. They each have their roles, and part of the patriarch role is the final decider.
Yeah, the final decider is the one with the actual power.
Well,
I don't agree because they're influenced by the other.
They can decide whether or not to be influenced by.
Well, as we see that's very relevant given the Bible verse here, because even though Isaac had decided, and he was the final decider, it didn't stick because Rebecca went underneath him. And again, it's that the different the female traditions versus the male traditions, and that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah,
Tag.
there's a tension between continually.
Which is why I say neither one of them is actually subordinate to the others, unless you're talking about a specific sphere. Each of them has their area of dominance, and each of them has their area of submission. And it's when you think that one of them's in charge of everything that you start running into some problems. Tag.
I don't recall the women ever really being consulted about being married. They're given by their fathers.
No, I mean, like it depends on the context, but in with the story of Rebecca, she clearly has agency.
Yeah, her family actually wanted her to say no.
But what's that one story here? How was it? Let's see, Greek story where let's see. Oh, right, Lysistrata. Trust me, men can be much more influenced than we'd like to admit.
Now, Lysistrata is great. I saw the play that they made of it during the Spanish heyday back in the 1500s, Fuente Ovejuna.
Wait, you saw it in the 1500s? You have a time machine?
No, it was the author that was like 1600s. He was like the Spanish version of Shakespeare. And no, I saw the perform. They did a performance of it at the Folger Theater in Washington, and no, great performance, great play. It's basically like an updating of Lysistrata.
Also, check this out. This looks really cool. I guess it's like a drill that can like curve. I feel like there's a lot of jokes here, but let's see. All right, here. ויהי עשיו בן 40 שנה, ויקח אישה את יהודית בת בארי החיתי ואת בסמת בת אלון החיתי ותהיין מורת רוח ליצחק ולרבקה ויהי כי זקן יצחק ותחייניו מרד ויקרא את עשיו בנו הגדול ויאמר אליו הנני ויאמר הננה זקנתי לא ידעתי יום מותי ואתה שנא חילך לך וקשתך בצא השדה וצודה לצידה וצודה לציד ועשה לי מטעמים כאשר אהבתי והביאה לי ואוכלה בעבור תברכך נפשי בטרם אמות ורבקה שומעת בדבר יצחק אל עשיו בנו וילך עשיו השדה לצוד ציד להביא ורבקה אמרה אל יעקב בנה לאמור הנה שמעתי את אביך מדבר אל עשיו אחיך לאמור אביה לי ציד ועשיו לי מטעמים ואוכלה ואברכך לפני אדוני לפני מותי ואתה ואני שמע בקולי ואשר אני מצווה לא תלכנה אל הצאן וקח לי משם שנגדי עזים טובים ועשה אותם מה הטעמים לאביך כאשר אהב והבאת לאביך ואכל בעבור אשר יברכך לפני מותו. And so Esau was 40 years, and he took for a wife Yehudit, which is interesting, Yehudit, which means Jewish or praised. I don't know, it's kind of interesting that the first person named Judith isn't even Jewish. You know what I mean?
Isn't it ironic?
Where was she from?
Bat Be'eri, which that was the name of one of the kibbutzim that was attacked. But it means my well. But Hachiti, he was a Hittite. And also Basmat, not basmati rice, Basmat, the daughter of Elon or Elon, Hachiti. So he married two Hittite women. And they were morat, they were bitterness, they were a bitter spirit for Yitzchak, for Isaac and Rebekah. So they were basically like, hey Jacob, we really don't like that your brother married these Canaanite or these Hittite women. So if you want us to keep supporting you, you have to marry your cousin. I mean, that's basically what happened. And so it was. Wait, y'all can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just make sure. And so it was that. And so when it was that Isaac was elderly, and he became what's the word? Not dull, but he became like feeble. and his eyes mirot. And his eyes were too feeble to see. He called out to Esau, his son, his Hagadol, his big son or his large son, and said to him, "My son." And he said to him, "Here I am." And he said, "Behold," or please listen. Please listen to me. I'm old, and I don't know when I'm going to die. And honestly, that's so real. And now, please lift your tools and go and hunt Vatset, and go out into the field Vitsudali and hunt for me game. Wait, so why is this? Oh, kashtecha. No, it's not. No, so they're saying take your bow and your quiver. That's why it didn't make sense, because se can also be. Oh, no. There it says go out, and kashtecha just is take your. Interesting. Oh, and I thought talecha was to walk. No, dude, I'm so tired. So yeah, tali can be quiver, and then keshet is bow. All right. And make for me matamim, basically make me comfort food, like I love, and havia, and bring it to me, and bring it to me for food, on account that I will bless you, bless your soul, or that on account that on account that you will bless me before my death, or before I die. And Rebecca heard the word of Isaac to Esau, his son, and it's interesting how here it says to Esau, his son, not their son.
Mm-hmm.
And like the thing that's interesting is, clearly, like, no matter what, it's her son, because there's no other woman that Isaac was married to. But like, it almost seems like, and I forget who said this before, but it's almost like it's almost like Jacob could have maybe been not his favorite for a different reason. I mean, I think that's a bit ridiculous personally, but
no, it kind of seems to be in there a little bit.
And again, you have to wonder about Abimelech again.
Yeah, the Ishmael thing.
And again, there's tradition where you have twins where one was born of one father and one was born of another, and that causing, the conflicts and stuff. Castor and Pollux,
Oh yeah, I was going to mention them, or like ask if that wasn't like the case with them.
If they're fraternal twins instead of identical twins, it could be from two different seed.
Interesting. I mean, they didn't look similar, so that could be the case.
Yeah, one was like a redheaded stepchild almost.
Yeah,
literally.
That quite a genetic divergence.
Yeah. So the word that Isaac said to Esau, his son, and went vayelech Esau. And Esau went to the field to hunt game to bring home. And Rebecca said to Jacob, it was when that happened. And Rebecca said to Jacob, her son, saying, behold, I heard your father speaking with Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game. And Esau, wait. Sorry, not Esau, Aset, and make for me comfort foods, and I will eat, and I will bless you before Adonai, before I die. And now, my son, listen in my voice. For as I command you, please go to the flock, and take for me from there 2 𤤕𤄱, two goat kids. I feel like it needs to be specified. This is 2 goat kids. It just says 2 choice kids. I don't know. It's funny. I feel like there's some comedians who would turn this into a whole joke. Take 2 good goat kids, and I will make you. I will make of them comfort foods for your father as he loves. So it's not. So Jacob's not even cooking it here. It's all like Rebecca is completely doing everything here. She's just using Jacob as a puppet. Oh God, I had a really dark thought. Imagine if, I'm completely joking, but imagine if Jacob was actually the son of Laban. It's not technically any worse than Abraham and Rebecca. Abraham and Sarah.
That's true, but you have the opportunity. At least you had the opportunity with Abimelech.
True.
It's a little less dark.
Yeah.
Still doesn't reflect well on Rebecca, though. But tag.
Let's see. And bring it to your father, and and he will eat on account that it or in order that he will bless you before his death. Okay, that's where we are, and then let's see.
You're gonna download the mojo.
What?
It's gonna download the mojo, transfer the power.
Nice. All right.
Voodoo.
Let's see. One moment. Let's see. What's this? Oh, this should. Dang it! No, that looked good, but it was too long. That's what she said. Oh my God, I'm exhausted. I'm like not coherent right now. But that is okay because this is for fun. Let's see. What are your thoughts so far?
That
of what we've been reading.
There was the scenario that that Yaakov is the spirit, she's the body.
No. Esau's the body.
Oh well, yeah, in that opposition, yes. but I mean, like, yeah, the patriarch, Isaac, being representing spirit tradition, as we were saying, Revka being the body. His choice.
Let's see.
If he thus represents.
Let's see what I can find.
And were there detailings of the shortcomings of Esau? Said he was a hunter and warrior that was out abusing people, or
Shalom and welcome to Timus Torah. This year is entitled The Gematria of Esau is Shalom. Do the math, it's 376. Esau and Shalom. So what's the connection? Esau and Shalom? The Shem Mishmoel, the great Hasidic giant in the 1800s in Poland, near Poland. He says that Esau was at Shalom, peace with himself. You say, well, that's a very nice compliment to Esau. He was at Shalom with himself. No. The Shalom that he was at peace with was that everything is fine in my life. I'm good. I have no problem, nothing to look into. A crazy catastrophe happened that Yitzchak gave a bracha to Yaakov instead of me. No, I'm fine. Yitzchak's the bad one. Esau's the bad one. He still went to marry whoever he married, and he was at Shalom, at peace with himself in a false manner. We should all be at Shalom with ourselves, meaning the fact that we're on a striving path and we're growing and struggling. We should be Shalom with ourselves. But Shalom, I have nothing else to do? No, that's wrong.
there was also the earlier passage about the well. Seemed to be kind of an early example of do unto others, do unto us as we have done unto you. Do us no evil, for we have.
It came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were dimmed of sight, and he called his elder son Esau, and he said to him, "Here, please, I have grown old. I do not know the day of my death. Now, please, pick up your implement, your sword and your bow, and go out to the field and trap game for me. Make for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me, and I will eat, in order that my soul should bless you before I die." Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau, and Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Listen to my voice, to that which I am commanding you. Go now to the flock and take for me from there 2 goodly goat kids, and I will prepare them as delicious food for your father, such as he loves. You will bring to your father, and he will eat, in order that he should bless you before his death." Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, "Here, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I will be in his eyes as a trickster, and I will bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing." And his mother said to him, "Your curse is upon me, my son. Only listen to my voice and go take for me." Rebekah took the desirable garments of her elder son Esau, and she dressed her younger son Jacob. And she dressed the goat kid skins on.
Wait, this is just reading it. What's the point? We're going to read it anyway, so. Well, that was kind of pointless. What's this?
If God has shown me one thing, especially about the Old Testament, it's that you always want to look closely when a blessing or a curse is pronounced. But now coming back to Genesis 28, verse 3, we see what happens to be, what appears to be the same blessing that God gave to Abraham and then Abraham gave to Isaac, now being transferred by Isaac to Jacob. But there's an important difference, where most Bibles say that Isaac said to Jacob something like, that you may become a company of people or a company of nations. The Hebrew for a company of people or company of nations is kahal amim. Kahal amim. This is entirely different than what God promised to Abraham and what was promised to Isaac. That is, that they would produce goyim, a mixture of nations. Because kahal amim, in its most literal translation, is used in Hebrew as the opposite of what God had told Abraham. Literally, kahal amim means a holy convocation or a holy assembly of fellow countrymen. In other words, it means an assembly of people for holy purposes, consisting of people, however, from the same tribe or the same group of tribes. That is, Jacob, who would soon be renamed to Israel, will be the first one in the line of the covenant promise who would produce as his offspring only Hebrews. He will produce only nations of Hebrew people, only people who would be called by the time of Moses God's precious treasure. I want to summarize that again so you get it. Abraham produced as children Hebrew and non-Hebrew offspring, just as God promised him in Genesis 12:2, with Isaac being the Hebrew. Abraham's son Isaac then went on to produce Hebrew and non-Hebrew children, with Jacob being the Hebrew. But Jacob now, he will produce only Hebrews, all the tribes of Israel, which is exactly what the blessing of a kahal amim, a holy convocation of fellow countrymen.
There's no connotation of holy. Kahal just means assembly.
Well, moving on, beginning in verse 6. We are told that Esau observed that Isaac sent Jacob to Mesopotamia to get his wife because his father detested Canaanite women. Poor Esau. He's already taken 2 Canaanite wives, which had greatly displeased his father. And now
it's not Canaanite.
A misguided, almost comical attempt to make amends, he goes to his father's brother's family, Esau's uncle Ishmael, the son that Abraham had sent away. And Esau takes now an Ishmaelite woman for a third wife. What a knucklehead. But as a matter of fact, as this event is told to us, its future effect is beyond calculation. Because here we have an alliance through intermarriage formed. It bonds the two, think about this, the two dispossessed firstborns, rejected by Jehovah as the possible heirs to the covenant line of promise, Ishmael and Esau. It bonds them together into what will rather quickly turn into a permanent anti-Israel group of nations. It is the alliance and gene pool mixing of Ishmael with Esau who forms the vast bulk of Islam in the world today.
Oh, God.
And the entire bulk of Arabs. This report of such few...
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. There's mention of Arabs even during the time of Ishmael. So, yeah, because he wasn't. Ishmael wasn't even. Ishmael wasn't even Arab. He was Egyptian and Mesopotamian.
I'm gonna say the Arabs claim Ishmael as patriarch, but you're saying they were already recorded at that point.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're. I'm just saying that this isn't the. I mean, I guess you could argue that he's making that same claim, that he's just saying that a majority of like modern day Arabs are descended from the. But it's like at the end of the day, I feel like that's just so reductive because, like at the end of the day, there's just as many. What is it? I mean, also this is like highly mythologized. You can't take this stuff too seriously.
So, in other words, what you're saying is that Arabs aren't really a
So he was wrong about
race.
saying
There's just
Canaanite wives never hit
they're
them.
a mutt between the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians.
No, I'm saying no.
That's not what you're saying.
No, that's what Ishmael was.
Well, if the Arabs are all descended from Ishmael, then you know.
But see, that's the thing. There were Arabs before Ishmael, so how can all the Arabs be descended from him?
I don't know. Does the Bible explain that?
It's because he ends up in Arabia, and his descendants end up his descendants. He ends up marrying Arabian women. So that's how.
Oh, so they take over the Arabian race, and they all become Ishmaelites, and they herd out anybody who's not a descendant of Ishmael.
Not so much for about as much as like intermingle.
Two words in verse 9 radically altered the course of history. And it set in motion the circumstances that are going to bring about the Antichrist and the end of history as we know it.
Sorry, wrong tradition, buddy boy.
I was going to say that's something Judaism's missing. They don't have an anti-Messiah showing up for a nice big throwdown at the end.
I mean, we have false prophets.
Yeah, that's not as impressive as a big heavyweight fight at the end. You know, much more theatrical. You guys are much more of that fairy tale. Everybody lives happily ever after.
Let's see.
Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Devarim, the Israelites
not this week
are positioned to enter the land of Israel. But to do so, they must pass through the land of the Edomites, south of the Dead Sea. The Edomites are the descendants of Edom, who is also known as Esau, Jacob's evil twin. The Edomites refuse passage, so God tells the Israelites to leave the Edomites alone and bypass them. Quote, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Command the people, saying, You are to pass through the border of your brothers, the children of Esau who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you. Be very careful. You shall not provoke them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as the breadth of a single foot, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as an inheritance." Unquote.
Isn't this so interesting, though? This almost, I wonder. Do you guys know anything about Tushara?
That's one of the Arabian gods, right?
Yeah, so he was the god of Petra, and with the whole theory that let's see.
I thought Petra had like 3 main gods / goddesses.
So Dushara, also translated as Dusaris, is a pre-Islamic Arabian god worshipped by the Nabateans at Petra and Madain Saleh, of which city he was the patron. Safavidic inscriptions imply he was the son of Alat, and that he assembled in the heavens with the other gods. He is called Dushara from Petra in one inscription. Dushara was expected to bring justice if called by the correct ritual. Dushara is known from the epigraphic Nabatean sources, who invariably spell the name Dushar, the Nabatean script denoting only consonants. He appears in classical Greek sources as Dusares and in Latin as Dusaris. The original meaning is disputed, but early Muslim historian Hisham ibn al-Kalbi, in his Book of Idols, explains the name as Duishara, etymologically probably the one from one of the Shara mountains, or from the one of Asherah, because Alat is Asherah.
Well, one of the cognates for Asherah, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, within the whole was interpretatio, what would it be? Like the Greek interpretation of connecting things.
Yeah, Alat, Ashara, Astarte, Anat.
Yeah. North of Petra, referring to a mountain range southeast of the Dead Sea, now known as Al-Sharat, or Asharat, or Ashara. Dude, you can't make this up. I think I might be onto something.
Well, I've always sat there and said that the Nabateans and Petra have played a much bigger role than anybody is aware of.
Yeah, but dude, the part that there's literally a mountain range known as Jebel Mountain. You also have the whole idea of Balat Gabal, the Lady of Gabal, or the Lady of Byblos. But here you would have wait, where was it? Dang it was just here.
Well, you also have at Petra, you have right across from it the Mountain of Moses. It's running through the Wadi Musa, basically it's the Wadi of Moses. And by tradition, Aaron is supposed to have been buried there. Tag.
So, dude, this is wild. So, Asharat or Ashara, also known as Bilad Asharat or Jibal Asharat, is a highland region in modern-day southern Jordan and northeastern Saudi Arabia. It was formerly a sub-district in Bilad al-Sham during the 7th to 11th century CE. In modern, let's see, history. Doesn't really, I don't know. It's interesting. So I'm gonna look at it another time maybe. But so here, look at this. So this interpretation is accepted by some scholars and compared to other Canaanite gods who are associated with mountains or geographic areas like Baal Lebanon, Baal Hermon, and Yahweh Teman and Yahweh Shomron from Kuntilit Arjrud inscriptions. If the interpretation is correct, Dushara would be more of a title than a proper name, but both the exact form of the name and its interpretation are disputed. And based on what this is saying, I mean, dude, it almost seems like within this context that, I don't know, it almost seems like it's creating this kinship that goes beyond just, we have a similar ancestry, but outright saying that I don't know. I like, because this other thing. So if this is merely a name, then we also know that there was. Have you ever heard of Kos?
Yeah, that was one of the various gods related amongst the people.
Yeah, the national god of the Edomites. Let's see. Whoa. Wait, so then Bar Kos, son of Kos, Kos maybe. Whoa, that's the connection. If Kos means bow or Kuza, dude, this is the connection. Kuza the archer, Al Kuza. Kuza is Esau. He's the hunter.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Zero's back.
Oh.
So, you've got a god being made a human.
What?
Sort of got a god being turned into a human. Esau representing that god.
Yeah. Also, so this is interesting. Listen to this. Kostobaros the first, whose name means Kos is mighty, was a native Idumean descended from a priestly family attached to this cult. The cult of Kos. Was after Herod had placed him in command over Idumea, Kostobaros, supported by Cleopatra, eventually tried to prize the kingdom from Herod's Judea. In order to garner local support for his defection, he revived the old cult of Kos, perhaps to get Idumea's rural population, still attached to its traditional gods, to back him. The name recurs in the Nabatean language in an inscription at Khirbet el-Tanur, where he is syncretized with the deity Dushara. So here it's saying Kos is Dushara. At least they syncretize the two. Who is represented flanked by bulls, just like Yahweh, seated on a throne, just like Yahweh, while wielding in his left hand a multi-pronged thunderbolt, just like Zeus, suggestive of a function as a weather god. He is also on an altar in Idumean Mamre. Now, Mamre is... Wait, what's this? Identification there. 3 sites are known. So, but yeah, basically this is connected with the story of the cave of the patriarchs. Like, this is really interesting because of the fact that Mamre is apparently associated with a Hasidic tradition as well. I think this really might suggest that there is a co-equivalence between the god of the Edomites and the god of the Israelites.
And my supposition about him representing a Neanderthal strain might relate over to that other nation that's being represented.
What do you mean?
Just a different ethnic mix. Maybe
Well,
a little more Neanderthal.
the time period Ariel's dealing with is about turn of the millennia, right about the time of Jesus, is King Herod. So Neanderthals were definitely pretty much well gone by then.
Yeah, they're still around. Europeans are 2% Neanderthal.
Well, no, I'm saying that when the basically the European, the Neanderthal hominid species, it had pretty much died out, and what was left had merged with Homo sapiens.
And yet
for the most part.
There are pockets of genetics that, of course, have been diluted further you go along.
Anyway.
why is God being so protective of the Edomites? Isn't Esau a bad guy?
No.
One answer is provided in the Torah. Quote, you will not hate an Edomite, for he is your brother. Unquote. Okay, brotherhood is worth something. But that cannot be the whole story, because our tradition paints Esau as the very epitome of wickedness. The Talmud says, quote, Rabbi Yohanan said that
How
wicked
is
man
Esau
Esau
more wicked
committed
than
5
Cain?
sins in a single day. He dishonored a betrothed.
What?
I said, how the heck is Esau more wicked than Cain? I don't get that.
I think because Cain in some ways was naive. Oh, hey Maya, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Sorry, I'm like half asleep, honestly, at this point. We're about to finish up, but we've got a decent amount of time left. But honestly, I think that it comes down to the fact that like Esau has the perspective of Cain and still chooses to do these things, whereas like Cain almost like he reacts in the heat of the moment. Like it's almost like the difference between premeditation versus. But again, I still think that it's an unjust portrayal of him. It's in order to create a dichotomy more than anything.
Yeah, I was going to say Esau's definitely different, but that doesn't necessarily make him wrong. And it's like to sit there and it's the idea that he's somehow wicked in what he does. I can't go with that conclusion. Tag.
For that I raise you Judas. Was Judas truly a bad guy? He was only doing what Jesus told him to.
Yeah, and that's been one of the traditional arguments all along. You know, some churches actually had Judas as a saint because he did the thing that nobody else would have been willing to do. Tag.
Like Saint Rebecca.
No, but in this
fulfilling the will.
Yeah, but in this case, it's about loving something so much that you don't care. It's almost like, if you truly love something, you'll set it free, as opposed to just keeping it to yourself.
But she chose to work toward what was revealed to her as God's will.
In an abusive way, though.
Maybe the only way that she had.
If
she couldn't convince Isaac to pass the birthright to Jacob.
But see, here's the thing: if that were the case, it would have said that.
And if God really, I was going to say, if God really wanted it passed on, he could have just stepped in and done it like he did with hardening Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's in and out. Sometimes it's not consistent. And just because something is not included, you can't conclude that it wasn't or is,
Yeah, no, I think it's entirely fair to sit there and say that, the portrayal as we see it doesn't speak well towards, Rebecca as a wife or as a mother for Esau. Tag.
It also, the clarity of the God, like if that's the will, then why isn't it conveyed directly to the patriarch, as with, telling Abimelech don't sleep with her? I mean, at any point there could be direct intercession.
Yeah, and it's not like Jacob received the vision and he was, yes, I'm the blessed one from God. He's getting that all from his mother. Tag.
Maiden.
The Bible says that it is an angel that speaks to her, an emissary, a messenger of God.
He denied God, he denied the resurrection of the dead, and he spurned his birthright. Unquote. The Talmud says, quote, Rabbi Yohanan said that wicked man Esau committed 5 sins in a single day. He dishonored a betrothed maiden. He committed a murder. He denied God. He denied the resurrection of the dead. And he spurned his birthright. Unquote. Moreover, Our tradition tells us that the Edomites are the ancestors of the Romans, and indeed of all Europeans and the entire Christian world. The Midrash says, quote, 2 orphans were left to Esau, namely Remus and Romulus. And you, God, gave permission to a she-wolf to suckle them, and afterwards they arose and built Rome, unquote. Now, the Romans and their successors, the Byzantines, dominated the land of Israel for 7 centuries, from 63 BCE, when Pompey conquered Jerusalem, to 638 the Byzantines dominated. Now, the Romans and their successors, the Byzantines, dominated the land of Israel for 7 centuries, from 63 BCE, when Pompey conquered Jerusalem, to 638 CE, when the Muslim Caliph Umar ibn Khattab conquered Jerusalem. The Romans oppressed the Jews, destroyed their temple, and exiled them from their lands. So why did God protect them and allow them to do this? The Midrash and the Zohar offer another answer. Esau merited land and power because he honored his father. The Midrash tells us, quote, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said, all my life I attended to my father's needs, yet I did not do for him 1/100th of what Esau did for his father. I used to attend to my father in soiled garments and go out in the streets in clean ones. But when Esau attended to his father, he attended upon him in royal robes, for he said, only royal robes befit my father's honor, unquote. Commenting on our portion, Rabbi Yudan says in the Midrash, quote, when Israel came to wage war with the children of Esau, the Holy One, blessed be he, showed Moses the cave of Machpelah, where the patriarchs are buried, and said to him, Moses, say to Israel, you may not engage Esau in battle, because he still deserves reward for the honor he gave to some of those who are buried in this mountains, that is, his parents, unquote. The Zohar adds, quote, Rabbi Yesa said, it is written in Malachi, a son honors his father and a servant his master. Such a son was Esau, for there was not a man in the world who showed as much honor to his father as he did. And it is thanks to this fact that he obtained dominion in this world through his descendants, the Romans, unquote. 5 centuries later, in King David's day, the Edomites attacked Israel many times. Israel was, of course, allowed to defend itself, but God would not allow David to annihilate them or to take their land. In the Midrash, God tells David, quote, I know you can defeat Edom, but I wish to subdue my world through them, that is, through Rome. I need Rome for future generations until the final redemption. Moses, your teacher, already wished to engage the Edomites in battle, but I said no to him, unquote. The Midrash adds, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, when the Roman enemies came to destroy Jerusalem, there were 600,000 destructive angels standing at the gate of the temple, ready to engage them in battle. But when they saw the divine presence observing in silence, they too made way for the enemy to enter. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Sima said, God saw Esau destroying his temple and remained silent, because Esau still deserves reward for honoring his parents and must not yet be defeated. The Holy One, blessed be he, said, I am paying Esau his dues. Command the heads of all future generations to treat Esau with respect, unquote. This sure is a big reward for honoring your father and your mother. On the one hand, one can almost understand Rome being given power and influence as a reward. But on the other hand, why should this reward include oppressing the Jews for 7 centuries, destroying their temple, and stealing their lands? These are 2 different things. Nowhere in Judaism does it say that part of your reward for anything will be to get away with murder. Nowhere does it say that in civil law either. Sometimes in hindsight, we can recognize that God's plan requires us to suffer. Slavery in Egypt was a case in point. We didn't do anything wrong to deserve it. God simply said to Abraham, quote, know for certain that your offspring will be strangers in a strange land and will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. No reason was given. Evidently, God thought slavery was necessary. But why? Many answers come to mind. First, for our protection. Jacob's clan in Israel was an easy target for neighbors. In Egypt, a superpower protected us, albeit to exploit us. Second, to build up our numbers in safety, to build up our identity and community spirit, to minimize contact with the idolatrous outside world, and to eliminate the possibility of intermarriage. Egyptians wouldn't want to marry slaves. Third, to allow God to show the whole world who was in charge by performing flashy miracles when he freed the Jews. Finally, the gratitude felt upon liberation, coupled with the acquired slave mentality, made it easier for us to accept the Torah. Furthermore, our tradition says that all the bad things that evil perpetrators inflict on us are punishment for our lack of observance. But it also says that God does not choose who those perpetrators are. They choose themselves, of their own free will. And as a result for their bad choices, they will be punished for their evil deeds. That being so, how can the Midrash say that God allowed the Romans to almost destroy Judaism as a reward for their ancestor Esau's good behavior towards his father? There's a contradiction there. It's all very difficult to understand. I don't. Do you? Shabbat Shalom.
So what do y'all make of that?
No explanation given for why to be enslaved in Egypt. It's another example of you can't infer something in. You can, but it's not there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can infer it anything you want, but if you're going off of what's strictly stated, almost word for word, good chance you could be going in error. You may not be, because that's where interpretation comes in. Tag.
All right, let's finish this up. Let's see, where is it? Here. Let's see, we're going at 27. All right, cool. ויאמר יעקב אל רבקה אמו הן עשיו אחי איש שעיר ואנוכי איש חלק אולי ימושני אבי והייתי בעיניו כמתעתע והבא אותי עלי קללה ולא ברכה ותאמר לו אמו עלי קללתך בני אף שמע בקולי ולך קח לי וילך ויקח ויבא בני אמו ותעש עמו מטעמים כאשר אהב אביו ותיקח רבקה את בגדי עשיו בנה הגדול החמודות אשר איתם בבית ותלבש את יעקב בנה הקטן ותורות גדיי העזים הלבישה על ידיו ועל חלקת צוואריו ותיתן את המטעמים ואת הלחם אשר עשת ביד יעקב בניו ויבוא אל אביו ויאמר אבי ויאמר הנני מי אתה בני ויאמר יעקב אל אביו אנוכי עשיו בכורך עשיתי כאשר דיברת, אלי קום נא שבה ואכלה, מצדי בעבור תברכני נפשך. ויאמר יצחק אל בנו, מה זה מיהרת למצוא בני? ויאמר כי קרא אדוני אלוהיך לפני. ויאמר יצחק אל יעקב, כשנה ואמשך, ואני אתה זה בני עשיו. אמרו ויגש יעקב אל יצחק אביו וימושהו, ויאמר הקול קול יעקב והידיים ידי עשיו, הלא הכירו כי היו ידיו כידי עשיו אחיו שעירות, ויברכהו. ויאמר אתה זה בני עשיו, ויאמר אני, ויאמר הגישה לי ואוכלה, מצית בני למען תברכך נפשי, ויגש לו ויאכל, ויבא לו יין וישתה. ויאמר אליו יצחק אביו, כשנה הושקע לי בני, ויגש וישק לו וירח את ריח בגדיו, ויברכהו. ויאמר רעייך פני כרעייך שדה אשר ברכו Adonai. So, and Yaakov said to Rivkah, his mother, these are Esau, my brother. These are my wait. Blessed, or however, Esau, my brother, is a man of hair, is a hairy man, and I am a man. I'm a smooth man, smooth skinned man. What if Mashash? What if he feels? What if my father feels me, and and I am in his eyes mateta, and I am in his eyes like a deceiver, and bring upon myself kalala, a curse, and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, your curse, my son, is instead instead listen to my voice. Kilotecha bani. Kilil. Hilaltecha. A lie. Oh, she's saying your curse is upon me. Okay, that's what I was missing. Instead listen in my voice and go and take for me. So so he's outright saying here that, or she's outright saying here, take for me, not take for yourself, take for me. And he got it, and he went and he took, and he came to his mother, and he and she prepared, and his mother prepared the foods as the comfort foods as his father loved, and he took, and Rebecca took the best the clothing of Esau, her son, her older son, the fine clothing that was in the house, and she dressed her younger son Jacob in them, and the skins, at Orot Gadaye, and the skins of the sheep, the sheep hair, goat hair, she put upon his hands and upon the smooth part of his neck, and she took the tastier savory foods, and the bread that she had made. She put it in the hand of Jacob, her son, and he went to his father and said, "My father," and he said, "Here I am." Who is it, my son? Or who are you, my son? This is interesting because he's not outright saying which one of my sons are you. He's saying, "Who are you, my son?" So for all you know, he could also be delirious at this point. I don't know. No, it's probably not that. It seems like he would say, "Which one are you?" Or who is, he would just say, "Who is it?" And Yaakov said to his father, "It is me, Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said, for me, upon me. Come, sit up and satisfy yourself and eat from my from my game, and on account of that, your soul will bless me." And Isaac said to his son, "What is this? How did you so fastly find? Wait. Oh, wait. Wait. How did you succeed? Yeah. How did you how did you do this so fast? How did you find this so fast, my son?" And he said, "Because God has has like increased, or has granted granted fortune, before me." And Isaac said to Jacob, Kishana, "Approach, draw near, please, and I will feel, my son, that you are my son Esau, and if not." So it seems like he's already suspicious. It'd be one thing you could just say, "Come close so I can feel you," but he's saying, "So I can feel if you really are." And Yaakov approached, and Yitzchak, his father, felt him. And, well, we know some people who, if they saw this, they'd see, oh, to feel or grope. Well, his father felt him. That must mean his father groped him. Like, no, that's not what it means. You know what I mean, Graham? Graham?
Yeah, no, you were cutting out there for a second. Sorry, I didn't hear. What'd you ask?
Oh no, I was saying that some people we know might look at this where it says to feel or grope and say, oh well, his father felt him. Well, what's that saying? It's like, no, it's just literally just feeling him. And he said,
well, I don't know. You got to remember with the reaching under Abraham's thigh.
Yeah, but this doesn't say that. Anyway, I gotta finish up soon. So and he said, the voice is the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esau. But he did not Hakiru. But he did not recognize that because his hands were like the hands of Esau, his brother, that because they were hairy, and so he blessed him, and he said, "You, this is you, or wait, are you really? Is this really my son Esau?" And he said, "It is me." And he said, Hagishan, approach me, and I will eat from your game, my son. So he didn't even eat yet. Therefore, so that on account, wait, so that, come on, so therefore, so that so that you may be blessed by my soul. And he approached him, and he ate, and he brought to him wine and drink, and he drank. And he said to him, and Isaac and his father Isaac said to him, approach now and shekhanli b'ni, and kiss me, my son. Again, some people could take this the wrong way, but it's literally just a father and his son. And he approached and he kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothing. And he blessed him, and he said, Re'eh, I see that the smell, my son, I see the smell is like the smell of the field, that Adonai, that Hashem is blessed. Oh, so this is the part that some people interpret as being eaten, but anyway, so I think, is that the end of this part? Let's see. Yeah, 27. Is that where we are? Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna finish up here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So, any thoughts before we close out?
It's a new cologne, musk du Esau.
The smell of the fields. Ode Esau.
Yeah, no, this is one of those where you can't come away without basically saying that there's a message of deception is okay if you get away with it, kind of thing. And it's an uncomfortable message in the Bible, but given how people operate, you can't say that that's not a truth. Tag.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's said to be okay, because it's like, for instance, you have the story of David and Bathsheba, and like, yeah, you have certain rabbis where they're like, oh yeah, clearly they didn't do anything wrong, and this is the reason why. But on the other hand, it's clearly showing character flaws. It almost seems like it's showing you what not to repeat. But the thing is that message gets lost on a lot of people.
But it also seems to foretell deceptive regime. And then all of these enmities that are set between brothers and nations are predetermined. I don't know where the free will thing is expressed in Torah, but the tension between free will and what is predetermined and what, the various intercedings of the Lord to at any point, and then like sins visited upon the son of the father, and like being put into slavery, not your fault, all of these things where these people are put into suffering, and not necessarily for anything they did, but to fulfill a broader goal with God.
And your anti-Semites, they can sit there and they can take a reading on there and saying that it's the problem of Judaism, since Jacob is, the whole founder of Israel, and saying that it's all based off of deception and the idea that it's okay to deceive other people, steal things from them, and that's just fine to do. And your anti-Semite will spin that into a really nasty interpretation. Just saying, tag.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, though, that if the anti-Semite was Christian, they'd have to contend with the fact that they consider themselves the new Israel.
Yeah, and it was Plato that put forth the noble lie as the way to a greater, means to an end. Like you make up religions in order to keep people under control or within certain lines to give them purpose.
I always saw that the scapegoat as paralleling that noble lie within Judaism.
Well, that to me again goes right back to what really seems very voodoo. All the animal sacrifice, the fact that he bequeaths this power over, the blessing is like a literal transfer of energy, like a mojo download.
I don't think it's necessary. It's not really that much. I mean, it's no different than,
It could have been revoked once he found out the deception.
But he didn't find it out.
Does he never? Does he die?
Yeah.
No, he finds out. That's
Wait,
going to be. That's in the next part. As soon as Esau shows up.
Oh, you're right.
And so the power has been transferred. It can't be taken back. He doesn't have the power anymore to take it back. It's been given. And the scapegoat thing seems to me like the literal heaping upon the energies into the animal.
Interesting.
And like the swine, the demons cast out of the swine or into the swine. That there's a sort of
Anyway, on that note, I do have to get going. So this was fun, and we'll do it again soon. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read him. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay? Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, oh yeah, I'm Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be this year. I'm Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be